My name's Terri Mingo, and I lost many of my possessions in a flood in Truro in April 2003. I was in my office, and we were certainly aware that there was a threat of flooding in the Truro area. The river was rising quite rapidly. We were hoping it wouldn't break any of the dikes. I got the page to go out to a call. I was on the Truro Volunteer Fire Brigade at the time. We were called to begin the evacuation of residents from Park Street. That's a street in Truro which actually floods, unfortunately, quite frequently. So there are some seniors' homes there, and the evacuation began. I was doing traffic control during that evacuation, which began simply by taking senior citizens out and taking them into cars and evacuating them. But later in the day, they actually had to evacuate people by boat from that area. And one of my fellow firefighters said, "Terri, you better get home, your house is flooding." I certainly didn't expect what I saw a few minutes later when I arrived home. The water was surrounding our house. It was up to our front doorstep, and my immediate reaction was to get my dog out. Once I got Pepper in a safe place, I went back to the house. I was still in my fire gear, and I went into the basement where there were probably 2 or 3 feet. There was probably two or 3 feet of water at the time. We knew that our house had flooded in the past, but usually it was no more than 6 inches to a foot of water. So when I went down, there was already quite a bit of water there. I was being weighed down by the water in my gear, so I ran upstairs, I put on sneakers and shorts, and I went into the basement. And while I have to say the water was dirty and bitterly cold, I tried my best to get as much out of the basement as I possibly could. The water was coming in through the basement windows so fast that my efforts were futile. My husband arrived home around that time, and I would bring things to the top of the stairs, and he would try and take things upstairs. But this was a window of about 10 minutes that I had to try and retrieve our personal belongings from the basement, and it just wasn't enough time. We had to give up. I think what was difficult was not being fully aware of everything that we were losing in the basement. A lot of personal belongings that, until we went through that muddy mess after the flood, that's when we realized what we had lost. I think the photos were probably the most devastating to lose. That and my university papers. None of it was really retrievable, because when we went through the belongings afterwards, you go through photos or you go through scrapbooks and the like, and they were just completely covered with brown and black dirt, and you didn't even want to think about what might have been in that water that had poured into our house. After a while, you just said, throw it out. Don't even bother going through it. Get rid of it, because you just kind of reach that point of saturation where you've already lost so much, it doesn't really matter anymore. It's expensive to be displaced out of your home, and especially when you don't have any contents insurance. We didn't have any money to pay for the hotel the first night, and then when friends had offered their place later on, we certainly had to go and buy some replacement items that we didn't really expect to have to purchase. Sometimes when you're leaving your home, you're in such a hurry and things are in such chaos that you don't know what to take. I actually have all of my insurance papers, anything related to our home is all in one Rubbermaid container now. So if we went through something like this, we would just grab that one Rubbermaid container and leave the house. After going through the flood that we went through, I would say always make alternative arrangements for your pet if something should happen that you have to evacuate your home.